Hello, how are you today? Do you want to dive into a book that might just surprise you, whether it becomes your next favorite or one you might skip? Let's find out what readers are saying about it.
Leah, who has 147 likes, says, I can't even call this Walmart society anymore because it's an insult to the crows. This plot is making zero sense and it feels like she's just coming up with it as she's writing it. And don't even get me started on the characters pre-read. That's right, folks. The Walmart 6 of Crows are coming back for another book. Sure to be full of horny characters, insta-love, and murder. Alice, who has 41 likes, says, 3.54 stars. Did the characters get on my nerves a lot? Yes. Did I still read this book just like with the first one? Also yes. Normally I wouldn't be glad book 3 is coming out in 2025 as well. But this is the one time I am okay with the same year release of the next installment. I need it now. TBH, everyone annoyed me at one point or another. The writing style is still simple and straightforward. It's not hard to piece together the details at all. My main complaint here is the POVs sound a little too similar to each other and the straightforwardness of the narration can get very melodramatic, especially for Sora chapters. If I have to hear about Daism one more time, I am gonna lose it. She's ashes. Also, I did not need Sora to girl for Quillamar the entire time when Quillamar was bad news. She had a tough life. Get in Linny as much as I like Eris' unhinged energy. I am afraid if it were not for the cute owl kindness, she and Royo would be the most useless hets in this story. They aren't. I do feel like their Shrugs romance or whatever was a waste of time. I know people complained about Eri in book 1 being like OMG they're my family when she barely knows these other murderers. But she really has no one, and it makes sense she's attached to the other POV characters despite not being super close to them. I can see that desperation hitting hard with her attachment to Royo. But these two are just not very interesting as a couple. Speaking of uninteresting couples, I am glad Sora and Taeyoung were separated for the entire book. Lol. Taeyoung chapters were such a waste of time. At least the most hetero character is thrown in jail and lampshaded as useless because that's exactly what he was this entire time. I must have forgotten that Hannah was Sora's first love. Because knowing this, I can assert for real that Sora has bad taste in men but decent taste in girls. IDK, what to say about Sora? I felt for her in book 1. But she got on my nerves in book 2. The first half of the book, we could not get a pause about her Daism thoughts. Again, it makes sense Daism is her focus. But Mai Corland didn't need to remind me every waking moment we were with Sora. I could have also done without the constant reminders that Sora is so good and moral from other characters' POVs, because it got very sanctimonious when Sora is out there okay with murder a good portion of the time too. The amount of guilt our POV characters felt was too repetitive. Like, yes, I know already. The writing is straightforward enough that we are told multiple times about their guilt. WRT murder. The only one I didn't get annoyed at was Yuen. Yeah, I know. Because he was so unapologetic and said and thought horrible things with his whole chest while everyone was like, no, I won't be bad. He was like the moral butt monkey of this installment because everyone was saying he's the worst and unredeemable. Again, for logical but repetitive reasons. Despite him being the most okay with murder and war crimes arguable, Yuen as a character was the most tolerable to read about because he wasn't constantly morally posturing and just did what he had to do. His finally scenes were honestly so bold. I can't believe someone in the main cast finally did something ballsy. In a series about murderers, we don't need to waste this much time posturing about morals in the same way. 5 different times. Just do things. Poor Mikhail. Lol. He definitely had a sip of the stupid juice this installment. Like, how was it supposed to be a non-pleasant surprise that June wanted all 5 relics when that's why the gang was sent to Khitan in the first place under convoluted conditions, but the end is still the same. LMAO, I enjoyed the new Gaian characters we met, though the journey to get the corpse head seemed like a waste of time. Though Yuen and Mikhail already had their moments where they saved each other and were willing to follow each other to the death. Unless there's some new revelations we get about Gambria in Book 3 in this whole ordeal, I don't see why the side quest was a good idea in terms of plotting. On to a positive note. This book runs on lesbian affair drama. I want elaborate. You'll just have to read to find out whom I am talking about. There's so much of it. Like LMAO, Khitan is actually pretty fun when you're the reader and not the MCs getting trailed and almost killed every chapter. I had a long list of complaints, but I actually did enjoy most of Four Ruined Realms since this is Entangled Publishing. I know the books from them are supposed to be accessible and easy to read with minimal subtext, and that's what you get here. Four Ruined Realms is still an entertaining ride. It'll be seated for Book 3. Lauren Lands, who has 16 likes, says, I feel like Four Ruined Realms is objectively better than the first book, especially in terms of world expansion and the fleshing out of other realms connecting to the grander plot. But I had a few qualms with the character development of certain characters, especially when ones I loved in the first book became much more irritating to me. RTC. Mela aka Marin, who has 12 likes, says, thank you so much to Entangled for the opportunity to read this book early as an EARC. The below is my own honest opinion of this second book in the Broken Blades series. For reference, I gave the first book 4 stars. I will refrain from putting in any direct spoilers for Book 2 in this review, but there will potentially be spoilers for Book 1 as this is the sequel. First, there were a few things that I liked. Taeyoung. I actually think he was the standout character here. I think Corland used him extremely effectively in this book. Eri. Surprising. I know. Many of her chapters were good. When she wasn't pining for Royo, I actually liked her. It was weird, but she had the best development in this book. Some UN chapters, he was so rarely in this book and everyone was so against him constantly, so it was refreshing when we got to hear his thoughts, and I enjoyed that they varied so much from everyone else's. Now, unfortunately, most of this book did not work for me. While I still do believe Mai Corland has amazing talent, I do not think this book shows that talent. In Book 1, her talent lied in the character relationships. Since we had a major betrayal at the end of Book 1, all of those relationships are broken and most of the book is a major slog because of this. Corland really attempted to push this book more into the epic high fantasy category, and I do not think it was executed well. Her world building was very sporadic and it felt most like each character had to do a little backstory every time something we didn't know popped up, and some of it was so boring and inadequately developed that I didn't care. Plus, so many names and characters just popped up and I went, huh? Who that? Should I know them? And I wouldn't get a hint until 4 chapters later. It was disjointed and I got frustrated easily with this. I think Corland did better in the first book where she kept the world building lighter, more in the low fantasy category. There is very little romance in this book. Just an FYI for all of you romantasy lovers, and I think the spice is barely A1. It could have been a ya book. Ha ha ha. I do feel that this book needed longer to stew. It felt like a really good editor could have cleaned this book up and made it shine. It's frustrating also to realize that what I really struggled with in particular was this aspect of every single character needing to comment in their mind on every single thing. So we'd have something happen. Exhibit A in person as chapter. Then person B comments on it in their chapter next. Then person C comments on it in their chapter. Then a whole 3 chapters later, We get yet another comment on it from person D. See what I mean? It was superfluous. You could easily have had one character notice the reactions from the others and comment on that instead. Which brings me to another point. Everybody was always examining others. It was always Sora is so beautiful. She must feel so awful about XX. I hope she feels better soon. Or Mikhail is amazing. He's the best swordsman. I wonder how many people he's killed. Meanwhile, these thoughts are happening in the middle of a huge scene and I am like, move it along, y'all. Now, what about those other characters I didn't mention above? What about Sora? Wasn't she my favorite character in book 1? Yes. I adored Sora. And Corland turned her from a poison maiden assassin to the optimistic person who brings the group together. Because no one mistrusts her and she mistrusts no one except Yuen. She hates him so much. It was frustrating seeing a woman who could have been merciless or even IDK care more about her mission. She says she will do anything for Daism but never actually proves that. I was disappointed. Mikhail was a terrible person. I haven't hated a character this much since Aspen from the selection. Mikhail uses his chapters to constantly rag on Yuen. He's such a bad person. I can't believe he did XX. How dare he think XX if Corland hadn't told us he loved Yuen? I would never believe it. I honestly don't believe it. If you love someone, you love all of them. I think Mikhail is just obsessed with the past and he never actually loved Yuen. He is the worst person. Not saying Yuen is amazing, but someone who can say all of those incredibly terrible things about their supposed love of their life. No thank you. Royo was fine. I liked that he was always so clueless and like what the EF is happening because it was relatable. I also had no idea what was going on because the book was a mess. Ha ha ha. So, all in all, do I think you should read this book? It's a toss-up. If you absolutely adored book 1, you might be okay with book 2. If you were barely enjoying book 1, skip this one and save yourself the trouble. I don't think I will read book 3. I did not feel this was worth my time. It was a 432-page book that felt like 800 pages and only the last 20 actually had plot movement. And that section felt rushed. To those who read it, good luck. To those who choose not to, I applaud your choice. Kimberly, who has 11 likes, says, 4 Ruined Realms by Mai Corland is book 2 in the Broken Blades trilogy. I absolutely loved the characters and the premise of book 1. This book focused more on the character and plot development than on the romance angles. And I think the broader expansion of the regions and different populations was a fantastic adventure. It's not an auspicious beginning. Bringing dead liars into Khitan. We follow our favorite liars Sora, Eri, Royo, Mikhail, and Yuen, from where they left off at the end of book 1. In addition to those we met previously, we are introduced to some new ones, including Queen Quilamar of Khitan, King Jun's sister. The book was fast-paced most of the time. And for the times it slowed down, it was to show new parts populations that helped to evolve the book further. If it can't be trust, let vengeance bind us. Overall, a fantastic follow-up to one of my favorite novels of 2024. And I am eagerly awaiting book 3 Shattered Souls, releasing this summer. Highly recommended. To be followed after 5 Broken Blades.